So some of you might not realize that I actually secretly have some superpowers, and one of them is super strength. I might not look like it, but I can lift really incredibly heavy objects. So today I'm actually going to show you right now just a little test of strength here. I've never actually done this, so we'll see if we can do it. I'm going to attempt to lift a fire truck. Okay. Here we go. Bend at the knees. Whew. Man. Gentle. Gentle. Oh. Oh. What happened? Oh! Kapow is a dice building game which is centered around superheroes versus supervillains. So when you start off the game, you're going to choose who is going to be the superhero and who is going to be the supervillain. If you're playing the basic game, there isn't much of a difference. It's just with who is the bad guy and who is the good guy. So if you have strong feelings about either one, that's who you are going to be. Once you choose which side you're going to be on, every player is going to start off with some dice. You're going to start off with some trait dice, which are the regular six-sided dice that we're normally used to. And whoever's playing the superhero, they will get a blue die, a yellow die, a purple die, and a green die. Then who is playing the supervillain, you will get a blue, a red, a yellow, and a green die. And then both players are going to get one of these action dice. Now the action dice have little places that you can pop in new faces or even to change them out and exchange them. And then every player is also going to get a wild side, which is represented by this lightning bolt. And you don't have to put the lightning bolt right into the die, but it's just easiest to start off, I feel, and then change those out as you need. Every player will also receive one of these player screens, and on the inside it just has some relevant information, such as the sides of the trait dice, if you want to know what some of those are, and just some explanation of what is on some of the boards, what the wilds mean, and a little turn tracker, so that way you can remember exactly how the turns go. Now I'm not going to play with these out or show them out because it kind of blocks off everything and makes it harder for me to show it off. Once that is all set up, you're going to take this tracker and actually place it in between the heroes, so you'll be on opposite sides of the table. And both of them will start off at 30 points, again, if you're playing just the basic game. Then, the first player token is going to go to whoever chose the villain, because villains have to do evil first before the superheroes are really going to take action. So then the game begins. So let me move some stuff around here and I will show you how these boards look. So I have myself set up here with a superhero board. Now these will normally be a tri-fold board, but for me they're all separate pieces. But when you get the game on the Kickstarter, you will get a nice fold-out board. And they're going to have all of your sides. Now these are the exact same thing for the villain and the hero. So there's no difference between them. And they're going to show you the different things that you can do once you roll your dice. So you have this first board here, which is your attack board. Your next board is your defense board. And finally you have all of your power-up opportunities. So, after everything's all ready and everybody's ready to go, you're going to take all of the dice that you currently have in your stock, and you're going to go and shake those up, and you're going to give those a good roll. And depending on the sides that you get, you're going to go ahead and plug those in to these different things. So let's just look here at the attack board a little bit closer here. So you have this base attack, which are these 4 options right here. Now you can only have one base attack, denoted by this 1 up here. So if you want to do the Biff attack, well, that is any die can be placed there, and that'll give you a base attack of 1. If you have any die and you happen to roll a fist, you can place those 2 dice there and have a base attack of 2. If you happen to roll the fist, which is actually might, and the strong arm, which is energy, you can have a base attack of 3. And then here, it's any non-blank action die, and remember, these are the action dice here, so if you roll a non-blank side, and you roll 2 of the same non-blank sides, you can have a base attack of 5, but that takes a lot out of the hero or the villain to be able to do the clonk. So you'll end up losing 2 faces from either the dice, or if you have some extra faces laying around, you can get rid of those as well to spend those. So, if you have something in your base attack, you can add some kickers here. Now, there are 3 kickers here, and you can choose all 3, or you can choose none of them, or any combination in between. Those work the same. Shellac here requires 4 dice to be able to do that, but that will give you a +4, which is absolutely fantastic. Let's see here. Then, there are multipliers. There are 2 multipliers, and you can only do 1 of those multipliers. So there's a blast, which costs you 4 dice, and then there's a clobber, which is 6 dice. The blast will multiply everything above by 2, whereas the clobber will add 4 and then multiply by 2, which is really, really awesome. Now, defense is extremely similar to attack. You have to have 1 thing in your defense. You can choose 1 of the 4, and they're fairly similar to what the attack was. Your kickers, you have 3 options, and you can use as many or as few of the kickers as you want to in addition to everything. And then you have some multipliers down here. And again, you can only choose 1 of the multipliers, and that'll help your defense. The last board that we have here, let me actually move one of my lights over here so you can actually see the board here. So this is the power-up board. Now these top 3 things that you can do all have a trigger word of immediate on them. So those will happen immediately before any attacking or defending happens in the game. So you can do a time jump with any die and re-roll another die. So not the die that's there, but another die. If you have 2 dice, any dice that you want, you can re-roll 2. And if you happen to get some might and some toughness on there, so a red and a purple symbol, you'll immediately gain 2 health. Now you have some other things here, and you can use those however you want, and a lot of them will be gaining you more dice, gaining faces for your action dice, gaining more of the trait dice, and exchanging. There's this really nice, you can exchange some faces for some new faces, and all kinds of different stuff. And then there's also stuff like Face Off and Sucker Punch, which will damage your opponent depending on what they do on their turn. So if they gain any dice, they will lose 2 health if you use your agility. Or if you use your toughness, if your opponent gained any faces, they will lose 1 health per face. So it's all in you. You got to kind of play your opponent and know what your opponent has. So let's go ahead and let's roll up my dice. Let's see what kind of things we will get on a turn here. So I didn't roll my wild side. I rolled a blank side there. Now this symbol that it's kind of hard to see. There we go. Little gray symbol right there. That is a blank side, so I didn't roll any of the good sides on the blue die. I got 2 defense and 1 fist. So let's see here. So why don't we go ahead and I can take this blank blue die and this fist right here to go ahead and plug that into Zap. So Zap, we have a base attack of 2. The kickers right here, I don't have any of those symbols for the kickers, so I can't do any of the kickers. And then for the blast, well, I don't have any of those symbols, so I can't do any of the blast. So most times I'm going to have an attack of 2 on my turn. Looking at my defense, I don't know what my opponent is doing. I don't know if they're trying to attack me this turn or if they're able to attack me this turn. So let's see here. What I'm going to do is I am going to... Let's see here. I'm going to plug that into block. Use one of my purple symbols there to block. And you know what? I'm going to use this over here in face off. So that if my opponent does gain any faces this turn, they're going to lose health for gaining those faces. So once you've plugged everything in, you tell your opponent that you are done. You wait for your opponent to be done, and then you go ahead and remove your little shield here, so that way you can see what's going on. Now, whoever has that first player token, remember the supervillain starts off with that, they get to go ahead and they get to do their attack first. So they will announce what their total attack is with all of their multipliers and kickers, and then you will announce what your defense is against their attack. If their attack is higher than your defense, well then you're going to lose some health. And apparently my hero's already lost health because I bumped it. But you will go down this track. Then, once that is done, you will go ahead and you are able to attack the first player. You'll announce what your total attack is. They'll announce what their defense is. And if your attack is higher than defense, they will go ahead and they will take some of that damage. Then over here we have the other actions that are going to go ahead, and these will take effect in player order. So, if my opponent didn't put anything here, well, I get to do everything. I get to do the face-off. If they had done anything that gained them faces, well, then they're going to have to take those points of damage. So you will continue on until you knock out your opponent. If you're able to knock out your opponent, you are the winner of the game. Now, this is what the developers are calling sidekick mode, because you really don't have much of an identity, and you're kind of like sidekick versus henchman, I guess you would say. But you can add in some heroes and villains, and I have some here. So we have what they suggest is they have Tough Nut versus Victor Kane. So if you are the hero, you will take Tough Nut right here, and you will take his sheet right here, and if you're the villain, you're going to take the Victor Kane sheet. And these give you some additional things that you can do and places that you can place your dice. So, a few of the additional heroes and villains have an ability to say permanent abilities. So once you plug in a die, you are permanently going to have this ability for the rest of your turn. So, Tough Nut's ability here is he has a base defense of 1 unless superseded. So he will always have a minimum of 1 unless you put something into a higher defense area on your defend board. And then you have some additional abilities that you can do. And when you are playing with the heroes and villains, they're going to have a specific health, and they're going to tell you what the dice that they're going to get. So Tough Nut here starts off with 30 health. He has a blue, a yellow, a green, and then 2 of the action dice with 2 of the wild symbols. Victor Kane here, his ability, he has a permanent attack kicker of +1. So he always gets a +1 to his attack as long as you put something in the attack. Now remember, if you have kickers but no attack, well, your attack doesn't do anything because it's always +2 whatever. And if you don't have anything in the base, you don't get to do it. Same thing with the defense. You don't get to do them if you don't have anything in the base of those actions. And he starts off with only 20 health. He gets a blue, a yellow, a purple, a green, and then he gets 1 of those action dice, but he also gets a wild, and he gets 1 of the red symbols. Then I also do have Time Out and Spoiler Alert, with some art that's not quite ready, but I think Spoiler Alert looks really awesome. And actually, I could say that these could be like alternate covers for comic books. Since everything has this comic book theme, I kind of like these, especially I like Spoiler Alert. And then they have their own stuff, and both of them start off at 25 hit points. And you can mix these up, and you can play Victor Kane versus Time Out if you want to, and Tough Nut versus Spoiler Alert. But that is Kapow.
Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Pull up a chair at punchboardmedia.com.
So that is Kapow. I have never actually played any of the previous dice building games before, so this was new ground for me. I had seen some of them before and was curious about them, but never actually decided to go on in and try those out. And it's a genre that I like, at least with this game. It has kind of opened up the door for me, and I like the building up of the dice there, and I like that. I love the little tool. The little tool that they give you is little things you can pop out the sides and stuff, and I learned very quickly to kind of put your thumb over the die when you pop out the side, otherwise a little piece goes flying across the room and it'll take you a little bit to find it. So it's actually one of my favorite things, because also it gives the player something to fidget with while you're waiting for the other player to figure out all of their dice placement. So I'm over here fidgeting with something or whatever, and then because the other side is pointed, I would kind of use it as a little pointing thing. So this is my thing, and I'm adding this up, and it just gives me something to do with my hands while I'm taking my turn and waiting for my opponent. And it's a minor thing, and it's not even really part of the game, but it's something that it comes along with this type of game that I personally liked. But playing with the heroes and the villains and trying to figure out the best way to outfit them with what side you wanted, and then the opportunity to be like, you know what, this side isn't working for me, I'm going to change out these two and try putting in these two, and you can rearrange your dice. But always remember that the dice are public knowledge. So there were a few times when I would ask my opponent, hey, can I see that die? I want to see how you put in your stuff. And you can rotate it around and see just how they outfitted their characters. So there's no secret information. There's no like, oh, I don't know if you put that one in your die or not. It's all knowledge that you know, so you're not super taken aback by anything. But this was pretty fun. I really enjoyed it. Now I'm going to try to look into some of the other dice building games, because hey, I'm interested in it. So if you've played previous dice building games, or you're into superheroes, or you're curious about dice building games or anything like that, definitely check out this game on Kickstarter. I will have a link down below as soon as that is available. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and help support Cloak and Meeple. You can support Cloak and Meeple by going over and buying a t-shirt. I have links down below at geekygoodies.com. You can also go to my Patreon page, and you can help support there. Also, hit that subscribe button. The bell icon will let you know whenever there's a brand new Cloak and Meeple video. And thanks for watching.